Thanks for tuning into Atascope, where we talk about business, sports, and marketing. I'm Brian Cristiano, CEO of Bold Worldwide, and this is episode number 57. I talked to Jeremy Litchfield, Chief Pace Setter, yes I said Chief Pace Setter of Atayne, an on-demand apparel company that is disrupting the marketplace.
Sports marketing expert Brian Cristiano.
Brian Cristiano.
Sports fans are arguably the most passionate people probably on the face of this planet.
Marketers and advertisers and brands always have to keep in mind, you have to play to the state of your audience.
If you're not passionate, do something else. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on Atascope. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How's everything up in Maine? You guys getting the cold yet?
Not yet. It's a rainy day, but I think we have some nice blue skies coming our way for the weekend.
Awesome. Well, so for people that don't know what Atayne is and who you guys are a newer company on the scene. Give me the elevator pitch on what Atayne is.
Yeah, at our root, we like to say Atayne is progressive outdoor and active apparel, and with really a mission of connecting active lifestyles to social and environmental activism. So there's a very much a values driven ethos to everything we do. But when we say progressive apparel, that's kind of a few things to that. Number one, it's in our materials. From the beginning, we've always used 100% recycled polyester in our stuff in terms of manufacturing in the U.S. and just having very strong social and environmental ethics behind how we manufacture. But we also view progressive in the sense of how our manufacturing processes in really disrupting and changing the way things are made in the industry. So it's not this whole mass manufacturing model trying to make things as cheap as possible, several months in advance, but how can we actually be much more reactive and responsive to what customers need by basically making it on demand once they've actually ordered it, and better being able to meet their needs of what exactly they need and want at that moment.
It's very different from the traditional space in apparel, which, like you said, people are thinking about 6 months to a year out, not what people want right now. I think that's really interesting disruption in the space.
Yeah, it gives us a unique perspective on how we approach the market in our business. And an example of this is about 6 weeks ago, we recognized an opportunity in the market based upon some unique designs we had done from one of our retail partners. And I decided, I want to actually launch this out as a separate collection and have this launch before the holidays. And this was 6 weeks ago. Within 6 weeks' time, basically, we developed pretty much a sub-brand called My Playground, and we just launched sales of that 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And so to go from basically concept to a new brand in 6 weeks is absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
And our model and how we operate gives us the flexibility to be able to do that and keep our finger on the pulse of what people are looking for in the market.
It's really interesting. And what made you start? Like, where was the idea behind doing this on-demand apparel company?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that resulted from being a bootstrapped company and literally not having the working capital to manufacture products. And I realized really early in the game that if we're going to actually grow and sell, we're going to have to figure out a way to sell products and then make them. And we started doing that with bigger bulk orders for races, which was easier to do because we had longer lead times.
Right.
But then as we wanted to really grow and expand what we were doing through the web or even working with retail customers, we had to get to the point where we could get quicker and quicker turns. And so even if someone goes to our website and orders something, that product hasn't been made yet. It literally, we call it a digital inventory. It's just a digital production file that sits until someone places purchase, and then that goes into production. And it resulted from our need to survive as a bootstrap company. But then I saw what this could mean for our business and how we could really disrupt the market. So I really kept pushing the boundaries on what we could do with made to order and just in time.
And who are your customers? Is it direct to consumer? Are it companies that want to use you as a method to create on-demand inventory?
We have a few different ways that we do this. So a big part of our business is selling to events, whether it's we work with a lot of road races, ultra marathons, trail races, cycling events, and just doing your really cool custom apparel for them. We also have a program where we set up what we call custom stores, and this is basically a self-contained micro store for, it could be an organization, a running club, or even some sort of entity that has a passionate following behind them. And so we basically do a whole collection of apparel for them that they can sell directly to their communities and members. And then we also sell some of our specific collections through retail, our website. The new My Playground Connect collection that we just launched is in a few different retailers and on its own website now. So there's kind of 3 different areas to our business.
And you guys are a newer company. How have you been able to let people know, either on the B2B side or the B2C side, that you exist and there is this company that can do this on-demand type of apparel creation? Like, how do you let people know? How have you grown it to this point?
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, to this point, it's been primarily word of mouth. We've been, we've made sure we've really taken good care of our customers in meeting their needs, to the point where, we want to make them love us, so they tell other people about us. And whether it's a race director telling another race director about us, right, or someone who buys something on our website and spreading the word to their friends. And that's really been our key to growth, is just taking care of our customers, making sure you meet their expectations, making sure they love you, and keep them coming back for more. And they'll bring new people into the fold. Now, as we continue to grow and scale, there's no doubt we're going to have to rely on other tactics outside of that, and getting much more into being aggressive with what we're doing digitally and social media, and bringing more people into the Atayne mix beyond just the traditional word of mouth.
And obviously you're doing other things aside from word of mouth. You just mentioned social and content, etc. What's been your biggest marketing challenge so far, or what do you perceive as you continue to scale? What do you perceive your biggest marketing challenge that you're going to have to overcome?
Yeah, I think it's just making sure that we're keeping as a company, we do a lot of different things. And how do you make sure that we're creating a cohesive message as we're telling that to more people, so people aren't confused about what Atayne is? And that's really going to be one of our biggest challenges, so that people understand exactly what we do and who we are and what we stand for. And then making sure we're getting that out in a very targeted way. The reality is we don't have a thousandth of the fraction of the budget that our competitors do.
Right.
And to be able to cut through all that clutter and all that noise that's out there and be much more relevant and meaningful to people can be challenging. And how do you do that on a very limited budget?
Putting budget aside for a second, if, let's say, for next year, you could only have one tactic for marketing, you only do one thing for the entire next year, putting budget aside, what would that one thing be, do you think would be most beneficial to your company?
I think the power of what can be done with in the digital space right now, in terms of not only reaching new people but creating engagement, can be pretty powerful, and it can be done in the way that if you're savvy about it, with a pretty limited funds. And everything for us, there's a huge visual part to what we do, because a lot of our designs can be very bold or in some cases people might even call them controversial. I mean, we did a whole collection of running apparel. We launched it 4 years ago around marriage equality. That was about promoting marriage equality. And now this is the conversation has shifted a lot, but we took pretty aggressive stances on things. And one of the things that we probably didn't do as much as we should is really get these kind of designs and stuff out there on things like Pinterest and Instagram, and I just think what can be done there, and that's going to be a big part of it. Of what we're going to do in 2016 is really try and leverage social media a lot better than we have.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I actually talked to Travis, the owner of SAS Global Travel, like a month or so ago, and he said the same thing. I mean, that's been their major marketing tactic. They're a smaller extreme sports travel company, and they've focused in on the content side, and because they have such cool stuff to show, it's performed very well. And I think that that's kind of something that seems to have a similarity with you, where if you're doing these things that are having a stance, making a message, being a little bit different, being bold, having that content to put out there gets people that would attract to your same point of view to your business with on a minimal budget. I think you're right on there. Let me jump around here for a second. What does the word passion mean to you?
Passion. It's funny that you actually say that because when we talk about who we're specifically targeting, we say we're going after passion tribes of conscious athletes. And, athletes in our mind, tend to kind of congregate around these so-called passion tribes. And these can take many forms. It could be your local running or cycling club, and that becomes your identity. It could be a 100-mile race that you completed, and you're very kind of passionate about that accomplishment. It could be as simple as, I'm from Maine and I'm a runner, and being a Maine runner is just part of who I am. It's my identity. And how can we hit upon those passions that people have in a way that allows us to kind of connect that active lifestyle with something that we're passionate about, which is social and environmental activism, and making sure that we're not just about selling gear and apparel to people, but how are we using what we do to really drive positive change in the world. And we're trying to give people a platform to do that as well, but in a way that we're really connected to them on what their passions are and how they really identify themselves. So it's not just about, hey, I'm a guy in my late 30s who's a runner, makes this amount of money. I'm not talking about demographics. It's like that's just kind of, yes, that's me, but what really fuels my passion is and what I'm passionate about is really what I is what my identity is. And we're trying to really kind of help people across a variety of different passion points, really express who they are as individuals, and not necessarily be a bunch of corporate logos, but be kind of living their passion and expressing who they are and then the change that they want to see in the world.
I love it. Definitely makes you stand out, and it has a deeper connection with the consumer. If you could go back to being 20 years old, or you could go back to your 20-year-old self and give that Jeremy one piece of advice, what would it be?
Gosh, there's a lot I would tell that guy. He was pretty clueless. I probably would have. The one thing I would tell him, told him to start growing a mustache much sooner, because I've fallen in love with my mustache. But all reality, what I would have told him is because I actually started the company when I was I was 29 years old, but when I started the company. And I was naive. I'm still very naive, and I think that's one of the things I love best about myself is I always go in very optimistic. But just understanding the challenges that come with being an entrepreneur are not what you're going to think they are. And being a business owner it can be very isolating, and a lot of people around you aren't truly going to understand what you're going through, because at the end of the day, their existence is a whole lot different. People, they go to work, they know that every 2 weeks the paycheck is going to be in their bank account. For me, I've yet to actually give myself a salary, because I keep reinvesting in the growth of the company. And to always see the light at the end of the tunnel, that it's gonna get better and it's gonna get easier, can be very difficult. And that can be hard to communicate to people, of the emotional roller coaster that comes with being an entrepreneur and starting a company.
Yeah, I can feel you on that one, man. It's very true, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is other people, unless they have been in that position or are in that position, it's just, you can tell them all day what it's like, it just doesn't translate.
Yeah, and the company I was working for before I started Atayne, there were some things I didn't get about the company owner, and now I can totally understand where he was coming from. Doesn't mean I can agree with him, but I can understand him. and it's a completely different perspective once you've been in it.
I agree, man. I agree. Last question: if you could play any sport professionally, what would it be and why?
Gosh, okay, so it would have been back in the day, it would have been a professional basketball player, no doubt. It wasn't until I was 13 years old that I realized that a 165 pound, 6'4" kid's not going to be playing professional basketball. But at this point, I would love to be a professional runner. Running has just become this completely just meditative thing to me, where my life without running is just not a life that I like. It's like when I'm injured, it's so painful that I can't go out on my runs. And if I was able to do that professionally, and I'm not even talking about necessarily being an elite runner, if I could just spend my life running and hanging out with runners and being at trail races, being at ultra marathons, being at road races, it doesn't matter. It's just it's a really exciting existence for me.
Awesome, man. Well, Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you liked this interview with Jeremy. If you did, make sure to let me know or comment, and please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because the more people that watch the show, the better the content will continue to get. Make sure to tune in on Friday when Kyle and I drink some more tequila. Oh yeah, and we talk business.